Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, today it's just going to be an information dump. There's just so much going on in the news that I thought would just do a complete news brief and just cover a lot of the stuff that's going on, because I think some of this stuff you probably should be aware of, because as always, and how it's going to be for a very long time, I suspect, it's a daily change. Every day there's something new. There's something that's pushing us further down that path. And that path is a complete reset. It's a complete changing of our world. And while many of us certainly don't want it, at least in the way that they are, a reset may just be what we need to get this world back in the place that it needs to be. The big problem is that they are in control. These men and women that rule the world, the elites, the whatever you want to call them, those Illuminatis and those, Davos group and whoever you want to call them. That's the ones that's doing all this, okay? There's just too much evidence, and they flat out tell us themselves. So we're going to cover some of the news that is going on that is certainly changing the world we live in. Before I get started, I want to let you know of another meeting that is happening. This is not my meeting, but someone sent this, and it is in Georgia. So if you are in Georgia, listen up. The rest of you that's not in Georgia, just hold on. It'll just take a minute. Don't be that impatient, okay? It's not that big of a deal to sit and listen to something for a minute. How much other garbage do you listen to every day? So this is a meet and greet in Big Hammock Wildlife Management Area in Tatnall County, Georgia. This is going to be next to the Primitive Camping Area and Firearms Range. The meeting is on August 20th. This is rain or shine meeting. Come early at 9 a.m. to socialize and network. The meeting starts from 10 a.m. and goes till 2. If you want some more information about it, there should have been an email address popping up below that you can email the person in charge, RSVP, ask some questions, whatever it is. But this is Tatnall County. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Tatnall County, Georgia, August 20th. Meeting is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Big Hammock Wildlife Management Area. If you are in that area, certainly do your best to show up to that, because the biggest thing that you need to be doing with these kind of events is just going to meet each other, just to make connections. And so that's a good place to do that. Breaking news today, this afternoon, breaking news. It's not surprising news, I guess. Most of us knew that it was coming, but it is considered breaking news. The Biden administration declares, yes, the chimpanzee pimples, a public health emergency. We all know what these public health emergencies are. I mean, we've been living through one for the last 2 years, but here we have another one, and it's interesting that this is happening right when Moderna says that they're kind of working on creating an mRNA thing for your arm for the monkey pimples. That's right. It's weird how that works. And now that it's going to be declared a health emergency, this, new shot in the arm can be, an emergency authorized, kind of like the last one. And then they make lots of money, and then they get all this stuff that's really an abomination into your body. Interesting how that happens. And of course, you all know that this, monkey pimples, it's not something that most of the country really has anything to worry about, but we won't go into that. But the point is here we have another health crisis. Will this be the one that they'll have to shut down polling places this fall and do mail-in ballots? I don't know. I mean, if you guys were watching this recent election just yesterday or the day before, down in Arizona, it looks like the same old stuff as the last time. And if you believe that this last big election, the presidential election, was controlled, let's put it that way, then they can most certainly do it again. So anyways, latest news on Pelosi and Taiwan and stuff. CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, has been firing ballistic missiles over the Taiwan island. And they have done this dozens of times. Hundreds of PLA fighters, which is their air force, have breached the Taiwan airspace. This has also been confirmed by Japan. Japan says that it looks like that they are firing these ballistic missiles over the island. Taiwan has scrambled jets the last couple of days, just in case this was the big one. And I think that may be what part of what this is. It's kind of like what Russia was doing to Ukraine, just wearing them down, and so that when the real one happened, they wouldn't be ready for it. And another act that shows our weakness. Biden administration postponed a routine test launch of an Air Force Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile to avoid escalating tensions with Beijing. So we don't want to make them even more upset. So we're not going to be doing any testing of our own and preparing our own military. Experts predict that China will fire missiles continually over the city. It's already happening, and they believe that it's that their goal is to try to scare the Taiwan people. That's not a big shock, but we're seeing an escalation. And like we've said, as this thing continues to escalate, it's going to be, I think it's going to hurt us worse. The whole Ukraine thing, with if Russia continues this, and they most likely will with Ukraine, everyone talks about the wheat and all the food that's produced in Ukraine. Well, for here in America, we don't get a whole lot of stuff from that area. So it's not directly affecting us. It does indirectly, but not directly. Whereas with Taiwan, that's very different. Taiwan controls about 2/3 of the world's microchip supply. And as you all know, everything has microchips in it. Everything has microchips in it. And if that supply stops or greatly slows down, we've been dealing with a chip shortage for 2 years, which is going to be nothing if Taiwan gets involved in a war with China, and that'll hurt us a whole lot more. Food situation is just not getting any better. I said the other day that the whole baby formula shortage is just getting worse. It's not getting any better, and more Americans are going hungry, and it costs more to feed them. Remember just a couple of months ago, I said by this fall it was going to start really hurting. It was really going to start hurting, and we're getting pretty close to fall. Americans are relying on dollar and discount stores. Dollar stores, we can go in there and buy stuff for $1. Their sales have increased 71%. 71% because people can't afford to buy at a normal grocery store, so they're going in there and they're buying really cheap, poor quality food that costs $1 or $1.25 now just to feed their family. This is, if no one sees this as an overt sign that we're not just in a recession, that we're most likely in a depression. In fact, someone that I don't particularly care for in the media, but I will echo what he said, Bill O'Reilly. The other day I heard a clip from him, and he called this a depression. He says we are well beyond a recession. He says what we are in is an economic depression. He said and he said similar things to what I did. Broken clocks are right at least twice a day. He said it may not be a depression on Wall Street, but it's a depression on Main Street. It's a depression in the small towns and stuff. The average working Joe feels this, and it's feeling like a depression to them. So much so that they're going and they're buying cheap food to eat because they can't afford anything else to survive. And as you all know, when you do that, you're also buying really poor quality, which is going to affect your health. And here we have, everybody getting this thing, and now they're going to be pushing more of it, and you're going to be eating much poorer quality food. It's going to lower your health. Can't even afford groceries. Half of U.S. food banks. Sorry, I feel like I've got something in my eye if anyone's noticing anything, and I don't know what it is, but we'll just push through it. Half of U.S. food banks report growing number of households needing handouts. About 45% in this article, 45% of the food banks in the United States have reported an increase in people coming in to get food because people can't afford their own groceries anymore. 45% of the food banks. And the food banks are saying that not only is there more people coming in to get food, but the donations are less. Their donations are less because of the economy, and the donations are less because of shortages and supply chain issues. This is going to start hurting. start hurting bad. Right now, it's getting more and more uncomfortable, but it's going to start hurting pretty bad. And if you want to know what it looks like, look at Sri Lanka. Inflation means food shortages, blackouts, and delays. That's what it means here too, folks. And it's worsening. Look at Panama. Look at South Africa. That's what's happening. And the next one on the list most likely is going to be Australia, it looks like, because they pass a landmark climate bill to cut all emissions in the country by 43%. This is very similar to what happened in Sri Lanka that led to their downfall, that what happened in the Netherlands that's led to the massive protests in Italy and in the Netherlands and other places, because they've put all these restrictions. You know, this sounds good. Oh, we're going to cut emissions by 43%. Well, that sounds great. You know, when you look at on the surface of the Great Reset Plan for you know, whatever they call it, and the Agenda 2030, it looks good on surface. Oh yes, let's cut emissions back so that it doesn't, you know, pollute the environment and damage the, you know, planet. Oh, that sounds great. You know, let's end poverty. Oh, that sounds great. That sounds great. How are they going to do this though? Well, they're going to do this by what they did in Sri Lanka and what they've done in the Netherlands and what they're getting ready to do in Australia and Canada, and what's coming to America pretty soon, I would say, is they're just going to say, well, we're going to, you know, drop all these numbers by making it impossible for you to buy gasoline, for you to buy diesel fuel, for you to buy fertilizers and other things that's needed in farming and machinery, and then there's no food or much less food, and it's really expensive. Oh, and you want to cool your home? Well, that's selfish to run your air conditioner. You're not going to do that. You want to heat in the wintertime? Sorry, there's no heat. Suck it up. Oh, you want a car? Well, that's selfish also to own a car. You shouldn't have that. Go out and buy a $100,000 electric vehicle, and if you can't, well, you know, you're just at the bottom of the totem pole and no one cares. This is the problem with this. There's no logic to their plans. It sounds good. It's wrapped up in a pretty package with a really bright bow, but what it means is the destruction of our society. They're forcing us at gunpoint, because that's exactly what it is, to radically change our life and our quality of life, because they want to look good. Okay, they want the people to basically bow to them and praise them because they did such a wonderful job, and you know, history looks back upon them as such a hero of humanity, because you know, they were able to, you know, save the planet with their zero carbon emissions plan. A random thing in the news that I just had to mention here: scientists were able to restore pigs' cell function after death. So we are now reanimating dead life. Someone on TPH Network, because of course I shared this there first. If you want to know some of the stuff I might be working on, or at least get the feel for it, join tphnetwork.com. It's a free social media site that I created. It's over 6,000 people there, but I share a lot of this stuff over there. And one person said, you know, if they're admitting this now in the public, then they've probably had this capability for a lot longer. There's so much wrong with this. So we're reanimating pig cells. Of course, they say, oh, this could help with, you know, transplants and stuff. Well, yeah, it could. I could see that. But there's also a lot of other things that this could do, that this could be bad. I mean, without sounding silly, but we're talking like zombie level weirdness. And of course, it's always pigs, the unclean abomination. That they always have to do this with, and I think this is just more they're playing God. I think that's all it is. The UN. Now this goes along with the FBI leaked report from yesterday. You know, the one that showed that if you've got a "Don't Tread on Me" and you've got a Betsy Ross flag and you know, all that kind of stuff, then you could be the big T word. This goes right along with it, and this shows that this is a global effort. You know, it's not, Biden isn't out there coming up with all these brilliant ideas on his own. Of course not. And it's not even his staff or his people. This has all been planned out at the global stage in these big global meetings. And why do you think half the countries, you know, nations around the world for the last year has just all of a sudden chosen a slogan of "Build Back Better"? Canada and Britain and the United States and all over, you know, in Africa and everywhere, Asia. Well, here's another one. United Nations declares war on dangerous conspiracy theories. In the article, it talks about this conspiracy theory that there's this global elite trying to run the world and trying to take over. And this conspiracy that this global elite has come up with this way to destroy our civilization, bring it down, and take everything away from us and reset it to something new. It's all a conspiracy, and it's a dangerous thing. And the UN has actually declared war on this. Except all those things, they're not conspiracy theories, folks. They're facts. Go look up their websites, their YouTube channels, their speeches. They all say it. It's the real deal. Okay, this one here is going to be a little bit, but we'll get through it. We've all been dealing with crazy weather. It's crazy. And it's really hot for most of us here in the United States, and it's been really dry for most of us here in the United States. Now, we got probably about 2 inches overnight, which was amazing, and we've been getting a little rain here and there for the last couple of weeks, but last night was the best, I think, so far. And there were areas here in the Ozarks that got well over 4 inches, I'm told, and that's good. The thing is that the weather overall, not just here, but everywhere, it's all messed up. It's just messed up. According to Ryan Hall, which is a YouTube channel meteorologist that's probably one of the best out there, he reported that just in the last 10 days that there have been 4 storms in the United States, central United States, that were once in a century up to once in millennia storms that's happened consecutively in the last week or so. He said the mathematical odds of this are just almost impossible. The big flooding in Kentucky and those poor people that's had to deal with all the flooding in Kentucky and in Missouri and places, that's a once in a 1,000-year storm that hit. And there's been others. And so the odds of this rarity of storms all happening, not just in the same year, but succinctly right after each other over just a few days period of time, that's a little weird, folks. Makes you wonder if all this weather manipulation that we've heard about for years might actually be true. This may or may not be weather manipulation, but Australia is experiencing what many scientists believe is a volcanic winter. Remember the Honga Tonga volcano that went off? Well, it appears that it is affecting the southern hemisphere. Australia is dealing with some record cold temperatures. Argentina, coldest June in 20 years. South America, snow extent all-time highs. New Zealand, too much snow. A rare cold downsweep. They've had to shut down ski resorts because, they're going through their winter, but it's been a really cold winter. This is going to affect things. And in these areas that they've been excessively cold, it's going to affect growing. South America produces an immense amount of food, and some of that comes up here. A lot of it comes up here. And so if they're dealing with a really bad winter, and it's true that they're dealing with a volcanic winter, that could easily last into next year's growing season and even further, which will further damage the global food supply. Not saying that it will happen, but it could. Russia also, they're having a real bad year this year on wheat, which not necessarily affects us directly, but as we've talked about, this all affects us together. And ending it up, the inflation and the whole economy globally is not doing good. The Bank of England warns of a long recession. Of course, Biden has a solution, this Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to actually increase inflation and increase taxes on the people that actually do create the wealth, okay? These are the people in the country, the business owners, the people that invest in businesses. They're the real wealth creators in the country, but we're going to tax them heavily. And he's bragging about it. He's bragging about it because he apparently is dumb enough to think that's actually going to help the economy. And if you don't like that, along with this bill, and this is tucked into that same Inflation Reduction Act, they're going to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. They've been buying millions of rounds of ammo, and now they're going to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. Why do they need that many? Well, they got to collect their money from you. They're like vampires, They got to suck as much out of you as they can, steal from you, because that's all it is. Taxation is theft. And now they're just going to take more from you by having more IRS agents, more ammunition, more guns, and they'll do what they want because, as I said, one of the very first things I said when the whole health crisis kind of started getting going, I said, folks, you are going to witness the greatest wealth transfer in human history right before your eyes. And I'm telling you, that's exactly what's happened. Folks, get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.